Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, this is Megneous and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Dinosaurs. We are down below in the grime and the dirt. We are going to go mining today, and we are going to talk about some dinosaur news, or rather DNA news. And we're going to talk about Korean because I've had a few requests to talk about Korean, specifically Korean language. So if you guys enjoy me talking about Korean language, this is an episode for you. So we're going to be looking for more fossils for DNA, which we did just find a fossil in Pokemon, our Minecraft Pokemon series, but we're finding dinosaur fossils today, hopefully, so that we can get Ankylosaurus, Pachycephalosaurus, etc., into our series, because I really want those dinosaurs. Currently, we also have Triceratops DNA back in our camp, but I'm not really sure if that's been changed into an egg or not, and the cultivator, I'm not there at the moment, so we can't really check. Oh well. I've stocked up on food and torches, so we should be okay for exploring for now. Should be okay. Probably, I assume. But anyway, we are not going to be naming the dodo today. I have a name that I enjoy from the names that people have commented and left suggestions for the dodo, but I'm not going to choose it just yet. I want to give you guys more time to give your ideas if you haven't already. I have a few that I looked at and enjoy, but I haven't made the final decision yet, so please feel free to go ahead in the comments and say what you would like to name the dodo. We have not yet gotten a secondary dodo from throwing the eggs. Ooh, level 25, huzzah. But we can in the future, I assume, because I've done it on my test game, just to make sure that we can indeed get dodos, and it's true. Just haven't gotten any here yet. Heh. Water. Silly water. Ugh. Come on, get up, get up, get up. How do I block this? Like this? Does that work? No, that does not work. That works. Alright. Very good. Now we must find fossils and iron and just a little bit of coal. Not a lot of coal, we don't need a lot. Fossils where? There are no fossils here. Alright, then moving on. But yes, so in terms of DNA research, there's recently been some research done. You guys have all seen Jurassic Park, right? And the way that they bring dinosaurs back to life in Jurassic Park is that they find mosquitoes, which are encased in amber. For those of you who don't know, amber is essentially fossilized tree sap. So basically there's a bug, in this case mosquitoes, that are chilling on branches of trees or something like that, and then amber oozes out of the tree, sap oozes out of the tree, encases the organism. It probably dies as it's covered in the sticky, gooey substance, and then the sap fossilizes into amber, which is actually a semi-precious stone, and it looks really cool. And in fact, a lot of amber with bugs caught inside of it, and sometimes even lizards caught inside of it, is used for paleontology research and stuff like that, finding out about the species of bugs that existed back in the old days, and sometimes things like lizards, although lizards are pretty rare, because usually they can get themselves out of the sap before it solidifies. Things like that. Especially, amber's been really useful for giving us information about different species of insects that prey on one another. Like, species of wasps that prey on insects are really famous for showing up in amber a lot of the time. But yeah, so that's what happens in Jurassic Park, and in Jurassic Park, they said that they were able to get DNA from the blood that was inside the mosquitoes, and for some of the species of dinosaurs that existed in Jurassic Park, this means that, like, 130 million years or something like that, mosquitoes have been around drinking blood of dinosaurs, getting stuck in sap, fossilizing into amber, and then after 130 million years, you can dig it up and find perfectly decent DNA. Of course, in the movies, they also said that some of the DNA was degraded, so they had to replace it with frog DNA, which ended up causing all sorts of wonderful problems in the movie. As you all know, if you haven't seen Jurassic Park, what in the world are you doing watching this series? Go watch Jurassic Park. At least 1. 2 and 3, meh. It's more like action than science and stuff, but number 1 is definitely a classic, so you guys have to see it. But, so, ever since that movie was made, since Jurassic Park was made, people have been saying, like, dude, we need to do this. We need to, like, bring dinosaurs back, or at least get the DNA of dinosaurs from fossilized mosquitoes and various other insects that sucked blood. The only problem is that DNA, just like in Jurassic Park, does indeed become degraded over time. Except that Jurassic Park sort of lied in the rate at which the DNA is broken. In Jurassic Park, like, only a little bit of the DNA was broken. It was like, you know, we just take a little bit of frog DNA, put it in there, it's all good. That's not really how DNA works. Based on recent evidence and recent research, it seems that DNA seems to have a half-life of approximately 500 and something years, which I've talked about before on this series, but, depending on the climate and depending on the preservation of the fossils, this can be longer or shorter. Ow. But it generally holds up that DNA does not last forever. It does degrade over time, you know, molecules fall apart, molecules are not forever. All information in time eventually disappears, in terms of biological information at least. Indeed, even things like hard drives, modern hard drives will eventually become demagnetized if you wait long enough, but technology is quite a bit more efficient than DNA, to say the least. Although DNA is quite amazing in its own right. But recently, there has been more research concerning insects caught in amber. Specifically, insects that have been caught in amber, but not too long ago. Anywhere between, like, 10 and 60,000 years ago, which in terms of geological time is nothing. It's like, hey, I'll be right back, and then you're back, and then it's all good. Kind of amber, I believe called copra? Copula? I can't remember what that kind of amber was called, but it was like a short-lived term, short-lived kind of amber that develops very quickly. Not the several millions of years old kind of amber. But anyway, they did research on that, because back in the old days, scientists did some research on amber and insects and claimed that they were able to extract DNA from insects and various things caught in amber. And this has never really been proven beyond the shadow of a doubt, so some scientists decided to try this yet again, and they have come to the conclusion, again, that yeah, it's not that easy. It definitely doesn't work even for things that are, like, really quite recent, which is unfortunate, because, you know, I sort of wanted to have our dinosaurs running around everywhere. But yeah, DNA degrades, and that's unfortunate, but it's a fact of reality. So their results concluded that probably, most likely, all of the DNA found in the old days, especially due to the lack of precautions taken in labs and the lack of pristine next-generation equipment like we have today, new techniques, etc., we're much better at DNA stuff now than we were, like, say, 20 years ago. But, ow. They've come to the unsatisfactory, in my opinion, conclusion that, yeah, most likely, the DNA totally not there. And we should probably think of different ways to bring dinosaurs back, perhaps by genetically modifying currently extant species of birds, which I think is actually pretty okay. I mean, if you take an emu and you genetically alter it to where it starts growing teeth again, which has been shown in chickens to be a single gene, by the way, that was deactivated for growing chickens' teeth, then we shouldn't really have any problems getting emus or ostriches with growing teeth. A little bit deformed teeth maybe at first, but we'll get the hang of it and we'll fix it up. Need to eat so I don't die. But yeah, we could totally bring back something akin to dinosaurs by genetically modifying ostriches and emus. I mean, emus are basically already dinosaurs anyway, just look at them. So many fossils. I really feel like this version of the mod has really turned down the amount of biofossils that you can get from any particular fossil block. I feel like I used to get a lot more biofossils in the old days. Another ancient helmet. So many things I don't need at all. But I will take this iron. No problem. Apparently we're in a snow biome at the moment. If we went up to the surface, we would be covered in snow. I'm okay with that. So yeah, disappointing research. I really dislike talking about disappointing research on this channel, on this series, because I want to tell you guys, yes guys, we're totally gonna make dinosaurs. They're gonna be real. We're gonna be running around with little like compies as pets and stuff. But unfortunately science doesn't work like that, and we can't just say whatever we want. We need to be honest about facts. And if we're honest about facts, we'll be in a better position in the future to overcome the obstacles and hopefully get our dinosaurs, because I want me some dinosaurs. On to Korean, I suppose. So you guys know that I live in Korea. You guys know that I like living here in Korea, and I speak Korean on a daily basis. I probably couldn't survive in Korea if I didn't speak Korean, despite the fact that somehow lots of people come to this country and they live here for years and years and years without learning Korean. I very strongly suggest that if any of you come to Korea, first of all, you can totally hit me up. I'll, like, meet you and stuff, I suppose, if you live in Korea. I don't know how many of you live in Korea, but, if we talk for a bit online and you seem like a decent person who's not going to try to murder me, I suppose that we can meet up and we'll, like, go and get dinner or something, I don't know. But, nonetheless, back on topic of Korean, I speak Korean, and some people live here, they don't speak Korean. I don't understand how that works, but, to each their own, I suppose. I personally chose to learn Korean when I moved here because it makes life incredibly easier. But, some people seem to have trouble with Korean, and some of you have been interested in, like, what the differences are between Korean and English, for example. We're in a gorge. Alright then. What sort of difficulties there are with learning Korean? What is that? That is a creeper. Alright. Oh, no you don't, zombie. You get back. Holy crap, look at all the creepers. No! Okay, we're good. No problems. But, yeah, so some of the largest differences between Korean and English that probably give people a lot of trouble, native English speakers that is, are probably the things like, for example, in English I would say I eat the hamburger, which is subject, verb, object. The verb comes second in English. In Korean this is not the case. In Korean, like in Japanese, the verb comes last. So instead of saying, the creeper go away, instead of saying I eat the hamburger, in Korean we say I hamburger eat, or usually we just say hamburger eat because we don't need to use subjects if it's understood from context who the subject is. So, I suppose I can speak Korean. This is sort of strange because I've never actually spoken Korean on my channel before, but for example, so I ate the hamburger would just be like 햄버거를 먹었다. And 먹었다 is ate, eat in past tense, and it comes at the end of the sentence. So that's difficult for a lot of English speakers, I suppose. It wasn't really difficult for me because, as you guys know, I lived in Japan for quite a while. I already spoke Japanese, and Korean and Japanese grammar most of the time are so similar it's ridiculous. So learning Korean was not really that difficult for me, particularly. One of the things that was really difficult was pronunciation. In Korean, there are way too many vowels. In Japanese, I learned Japanese. Japanese only has 5 vowels. In standard Japanese, that is. Other Japonic languages and other dialects possibly have more or less. But in terms of Korean, there are way more than 5. One of the most difficult ones is probably the difference in Korean between ah, which is in English, of course, ah, and o, which is in English, but only as a diphthong, meaning that we don't say o, we say o. And the Korean sound aw, which even today I can't do perfectly well because, yeah, native English speaker, and it's definitely not in Japanese. But yeah, I've heard a lot of English speakers here in Korea who pronounce the aw sound as o, and that's sort of weird. Like if I said 밥 먹어, that would be pretty weird, meaning I eat food or you eat food, as in you should totally eat food now. Using an o where an aw should be sounds pretty strange, but since that sounds pretty difficult, even for me at times, I can completely understand the number of people who make that that mistake. But oh wells, that's probably one of the harder things. Also, Korean has a sound that is similar to English oo or like in wood. Korean has the oo sound and an sound. So if I say those right next to one another, I have no idea if some of you will be able to hear the difference. But oo and so imagine, instead of saying, ooh, that's so cool, imagine I see something gross and disgusting and I say, ooh, ooh and ooh. In English can mean quite different things in terms of like feelings and emphasis, connotations, but we don't really use the sound in words as a contrastive phoneme, if I use the linguistics words. Where did that go? Here it is. Other things to get used to in Korean that most English speakers probably aren't used to is that we use different words for different levels of formality. I don't want to fall in there. For example, I used the word 먹다 earlier today. 먹다 means eat. But when you're talking to someone who's above you, you don't really use that word for eat. You use generally, if you're saying like, please eat, which is what people say in Korea constantly, you would say 드세요, which means, you know, please eat, but not so informally. You need to respect the peoples that are either above you or equal to you, but they're guests. So that's pretty strange, but I was used to that as well because we do the same thing in Japanese as well. Itadaku in Japanese is the humble version of to eat, which is taberu. So itadakimasu, you guys, if you speak Japanese or if you've seen anime or been to Japan even once, you know the Japanese people say itadakimasu when they're eating. It's a very humble way of saying the word eat. Whereas the honorific version, which is used for other people, not yourself, but people who are above you or people you want to show respect to, you use meshiagaru, which is, again, just the word eat, but for people who are worthy of respect, I guess you could say. Not something we really worry too much about in English. We definitely respect people in English, but we do it in a very different way. Not with grammar, not with different vocabulary words. We just do it by not using, I suppose, very informal language, such as yo, sup. Personally, I like informal language. It's very convenient. I, as a somewhat young English speaker, I enjoy speaking informally with people. I don't enjoy overly formal speaking, and generally when I live in a foreign country such as Japan or Korea, I do my absolute best to make friends with people who are near my own age, so that I can use informal grammar. Because informal grammar... Oh, no, we're stuck. Oh, gosh. Okay, we're good. No problems. So I can use informal grammar because, it feels, as a native English speaker, it's really hard to describe how it feels to speak in a language that has various registers. Hello. I don't want to die. For high formality and low formality, it feels like you're literally putting a wall between yourself and the person you're talking to. Like, you can't be friendly because you're different stations, you're different statuses, you have different titles. Someone is above someone else, someone is below someone else. And while living in Korea and Japan, I fully accept this as part of the culture. Personally, it makes me uncomfortable, so I enjoy using informal language. And none of you can ever stop me. Ho ho. Indeed. What are some other big differences? It's not really a language difference, it's more of a culture difference that comes out in language, but, for example, here in Korea, for English speakers in the US, for example, speaking bluntly is generally considered a good thing. You're generally... It's lauded. People say that, oh, he speaks so frankly, you know, so I know what he's thinking. I never have to guess with Frank. He speaks so frankly. This is generally a good thing. In Korea and Japan, I mean, sometimes it's okay to speak frankly, like if you're going out to drink or eat with your coworkers. Generally, getting getting intoxicated and then saying your mind is not so much frowned upon, and in Japan they even have a term for this called nomunication, which is a mixture of the word nomu in Japanese, which means drink, and communication. And in Korea it's basically the same. They do the whole nomunication thing as well, where they get drunk and say their minds. But for the most part in Korea, you really shouldn't tell people how you feel, because people get offended really easily, and it's really more important just to keep everyone happy than have people know how you feel. Because, I mean, honestly, in Korea, most people don't really care how you feel anyway. Not a stereotype, but, like, really, if you're not in someone's family, for example, or if you haven't been friends with someone for a really long time, it's very, very difficult to make close friends in Korea. So it's important to use that formal register I told you about earlier with people that you don't know very well. And in my mind, when I think know very well, I think like, oh, I've known them for a few weeks, you know, we've hung out a few times, we're buds. That's how I view getting to know people. But Korean people, on the other hand, when you ask them who are their close friends, they say like people that they know from middle school. So it can mean anything up to like 10 years of friendship. And honestly, I haven't lived in a single place for 10 years in my entire life. So I don't particularly get that myself. But that's how Korea is. I mean, Korea is a country that is smaller than my home state. So you get stuff like that. And that's definitely reflected in how you talk to people. Are there any other things? I don't know. Japanese and Korean are agglutinative languages, meaning that when you want to express a different sort of meaning, for example, in English, if I want to say eat, I say eat, and if I want to say I want to eat, I say want to, and then follow it with the verb that I want to do. Whereas in Korean, what you do is you take the verb and you use a specific form of the verb, which I'm going to refer to as the stem. You use the stem of the verb, and then you add sort of like a grammatical suffix to it. Agglutinative languages work like this. You can change the meaning of things by adding on pieces and parts. I'm gonna leave you alone, zombie, because I don't want to deal with you. Add pieces and parts onto the end. And that's how you can change things around. Japanese is a good example. Japanese is really agglutinative. I don't want to die. Let's see. I'm trying to think of a good example. Okay, so I said earlier that the word for eat in Japanese is taberu. Oh, wait, actually, we are over time on this episode, so I shouldn't explain that anymore. I will totally talk about that in the next episode of Minecraft Dinosaurs. So for now, thank you so much everyone for watching. My name is Megneous. Don't forget to let me know in the comments below what you would like to name, the dodo, as well as our triceratops, because I believe we now have a triceratops egg. And I will see you next time.